Coming up on today's show.
It's a learned skill. So the same way you go out and teach your child how to drive a car or how to ride a bike or how to play soccer, that same dedication, that same commitment, and that same consistency actually needs to be put into teaching your children time management skills.
Well, what happens to the parents who are kind of control freaks and, they'll ask the question, but they want to answer it too? Yeah. I mean, the parents have to kind of lay back just a little bit?
What I've developed is this thing called a homework profile where a parent can go step by step with their teen to figure out where is the best place for you to sit. Is maybe being at the dining room table where there's a little bit of noise might actually help you to focus.
Time management for teens today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Getting a teen into a time management program can be a very difficult thing. You kind of think of this impression of the teen who kind of slacks around. Well, we've got a solution. We have the one and only Leslie Josell with her brand new book out called Teens and Time Management, right? Is that the exact title?
No, it's What's the Deal?
What's the deal with that title?
Right. That's the title. What's the deal with teens and time management?
Okay, well, great. I am super excited to jump into this. But first, why did you call it that? What was the reasoning behind naming it that?
Well, it wasn't really my idea. The publisher who I'm working with, all his books start with "What's the deal with?" So I didn't have a choice to name it, but I like that it's "What's the deal?" because everywhere I go, that's the question I'm asked the most. Like, what's the deal with kids in time management? Like, what's the deal that they don't get it, or what? So when he came to me and said, all my books start with "What's the deal?" I'm like, you know what? That's a really good fit.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times people just make an excuse. Oh, well, they're not adults yet, or they're just slackers. But let's get into how we actually get this done. And I would imagine it starts with the parents too, right? I mean, these kids are not just going to do this on their own, right?
No. And that's the biggest thing. And it's the hardest thing is that there's usually an expectation. And when I say this, I'm not always the most popular person in the room, but there's an expectation that our teens should just be able to, fill in the blank. But you have to remember, number one, our teens, their time is not really their own. They don't really get to determine how they spend their time for the most part. They've got school, friends, obligations, homework. So they're really pulled in a lot of directions with a lot of other people telling them how to spend their time. And then, we also know that time management is brain-based. And for our teens, that time management section of the brain, for lack of a better way of saying it, is not fully developed. So parents really need to step in and try to help their kids on that journey. And the biggest thing that parents need to first realize is that time management doesn't come naturally to everyone. Even the parent that might not have the best time management skills can still put in place to help their child in that journey.
Okay, well, what are the first few steps that we have to kind of get in place in order to start moving that teen towards do we give them a schedule or what?
No, believe it or not, my first belief is that a parent needs to actually change their mindset about how they approach their teen when it comes to time management. So what I mean that by example is that we need to focus on raising our children, and this is my thing, as what I call as problem solvers and not direction followers. So for example, when you say a parent might not have the best time management skills of their own, that could be true. But we as parents have a tendency to, I don't want to say bark orders, but tell our kids what to do. You walk in the house, you tell your son, go get your soccer cleats, we're leaving in 5 minutes. You tell your daughter, go get your tennis racket, we're going here. What's happening is you're the one who's really promoting your own time management skills, and what you're doing with your student is really making them an expert direction follower.
Yeah, and of course they like it too when you don't talk as loud, like you say, bark. I mean, I scream at my kids, but that sometimes some are a little bit slower than others.
So we want to change it. We want to make them problem solvers. So instead of telling your child we're leaving in 10 minutes, go pack your soccer bag, by turning it around and saying, what time do we need to leave for soccer? What do you need to pack in your soccer bag? Believe it or not, what you're doing is you're creating right away some type of time awareness. You're making them have to engage in the fact that there is a time that soccer begins, there's a time that they have to leave the house, and there's even a time that they have to get prepared to go to soccer. So just by changing your way of communicating with your child will actually promote time management skills for your child.
It seems like there's some ownership that, and almost like that verbal contract, you get them to say it and they kind of commit to it. Is that part of the equation too?
Exactly part of the equation. It's such a simple thing because so many of us do. So many of us say, go get this, go do that, go have this. And it's such a hard thing to change because we're busy people. We want to move fast. We know that doing something like that's going to take time. So it's easier for us just to spew out commands. But that subtle change of asking as opposed to telling will create a time sense. It'll start creating what I call future awareness, that something that has to be done even that's happening an hour from now has to be thought about now.
Okay, what happens if they go, I don't know?
Oh, I love that question. It's like you read my book. Because I say that. I say, you're going to be met with a lot of I don't knows. Well, I'm back to asking another question. I always say, tell me what you do know. You might have to prompt, but tell me what you know. You have to go to soccer. Let's break it down. Do you know what I'm saying? So the whole I don't know, yes, I agree. We get a lot of I don't knows, but we have to start somewhere. So I like to start back and kind of lob the question back to them with, tell me what you do know. Do you know what you needing to pack for soccer? Yes, that I know. Great. Do you know what time soccer is today? Yes. So you can kind of tease it out of them to try to create that awareness.
Well, what happens to the parents who are kind of control freaks and, they'll ask the question, but they want to answer it too? Yeah. I mean, the parents have to kind of lay back just a little bit?
And, it's very funny because we all know this, that time management is a life skill. So it's, and this is where sometimes, again, I become the most unpopular person in the room, but we place so much focus on academic success. And I want everyone's child to be academically successful for whatever that means to you. But what I really want is your student to be time management and organizationally successful.
Well, what about age? Is there an age that a teen can get into this? I mean, too young, too old? I mean, what's the range, or do you have a recommendation?
I think you can start as early as any age, but it depends. You just have to make sure it's age appropriate. So even if you have a young child, like an elementary school child even, you can start by hanging analog clocks in all the rooms in your house so that your child starts to understand what it means for time to move. So that's a very simple but effective strategy for a young child.
Leslie, in the book you talk about future awareness. What exactly does that mean?
So one of the things that I've noticed when I work with my teens, and I hear more about this than any other issue when I talk to parents, is that their child has no concept that something that is, let's say, happening a day from now, a week from now, even a month from now, that they're so aware of it that they might have to actually do something about it now. So for example, they might have a paper due in 2 weeks, but because of their schedule, because of everything else going on, they might have to start it even today. They might have to do something today for something that's due 2 weeks from now. And it's called future awareness. It's understanding and bridging that there's the now, the world of the now, which is what we all live in, mostly teens. And then there's the not now. And most adults have learned how to bridge that concept, to understand how to plan their time, to understand that if they have something due on a Friday, they might have to work on it now. That is probably one of the most difficult things that our teens face. It's one of the hardest things to teach. And you can't do that. You can't bridge that now and not now unless you can teach your teen a time sense, how long things take.
Great. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I want to get more
Sure.
into some of the implementation techniques.
Sure.
And we are talking time management for teens with Leslie Josell from OrderOutOfChaos.com. And we will be right back. When you've got it together, everyone can tell. Your confidence is obvious. Introducing Viewables.com from Smead. Use the Viewables labeling system to transform your drawer of hanging files into a tidy, organized filing system. Using the premium hanging folder tabs, see the label from the front, top, and back. It's easy. Access Viewables.com from any computer, tablet, or internet-enabled smartphone. Let's make some labels. It's free, and there's nothing to download or install. Choose the label type and format your label just the way you want. You can even add index characters or icons for distinctive filing. Set up a free Viewables cloud account, and your secure login lets you save your projects for convenient access from any computer. And with Viewables multi-purpose labels, you can use one label for any type of file, including hanging folders, top tab folders, super tab folders, or oversized items like notebooks and file boxes. Upload a list of file headings and print your complete set of labels in moments. There's even a library of templates for commonly used label sets. It's never been easier to set up neat-looking files that have easy-to-read headings and efficient color codes. Obviously organized. Viewables.com. From Smead, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about time management for teens with Leslie Josell, Order Out of Chaos. It's OrderOutOfChaos.com, author of the newish book.
What's the deal?
It's called What's the Deal, right?
What's
the deal? It's about time management for teens. So I want to get, and maybe we can use some case studies here, or some examples about how you've worked with some people to kind of implement some of these things. Did you use these on your own kids at all?
And I talk a lot about that in the book too. My whole business started, you know this, because of my son. So he's my guinea pig. But my clients are also, what's really lovely is I learn a lot from my son and bring that to my clients. And then I learn a lot from my clients and I bring back to him. So like, for example, and I think this is, homework is a big issue. You know that every parent struggles with their child doing homework. And over the course of the years, I've kind of figured something out. I've developed what I call a personal homework profile. Because as we know, the last thing our kids want to be doing is homework. So we have to kind of tap in to what is the best everything. What is their best time? Where's their best place? When is, what do they need to support themselves while they do homework? We have to make homework, when I say easy, I don't mean the type of work, but we need to create an environment that's going to support them to get that work done. So that old school thinking of your child needs to come home right after school and sit in a quiet room at a desk with the door closed is in fact old school. So what I've developed is this thing called a homework profile, where a parent can go step by step with their teen to figure out where is the best place for you to sit. Is maybe being at the dining room table where there's a little bit of noise might actually help you to focus, whereas being in your room could actually be distracting. When is the best time? There are kids that can come home right after school and get their homework done. Most can't. Most need to refuel and take that break and start again at a later hour where they'll be more focused and they've kind of refueled that energy. Do they need to move around when they do homework? We know that when you move, you lay down learning. You attend better. So maybe we need to set up stations around, let's say, the dining room table where your student can move from subject to subject instead of sitting in one place. All of these types of things go into account to kind of create like a profile. But what it does is it really helps your child be able to, when it's time to sit down and do it, at least have that support and scaffolding. So they're not up against, you know what I mean? Like being tired and not being in the right place. So that's a great strategy.
And it's really like a customized solution for them.
Absolutely. And that would be my biggest, like whenever I come to somebody or talk to a parent That's what I usually get. Well, my son, I want my son to start homework right when he gets home, and he's getting up and he doesn't want to, and he seems so tired. Well, maybe that isn't the right time. Or he's up in his room, and every time I tell him to go to his room to do homework, he comes back out to find, where I am or where his brothers are. Well, he's telling you something. He seems to need that buzz, that hum of the house to actually have him focus. Or he gets up and wants to move around. Then we need to go with that because he needs to get the wiggles out. All of those things need to be taken into account when it's time to sit down and get homework done.
All right, we're talking a lot of environment here too, which I think is just setting the table correctly, so to speak. But what about like scheduling future events on like do you use a calendar? Like 3 days from now we have to do this. How do you work that into a schedule?
I'm a planner girl. You know that. Come on.
This was a softball question for you, okay?
But I'm going to hit it back for a home run here. Okay, I am a planner girl. And listen, not everybody organizes the same way. So I prefer a paper planner for kids, but all I want out of a student is to write it down. At this point, and I know I'm going to probably be the most unpopular person in the room, but I'm realistic to know that getting a student to write in a planner is 2 steps. We have to start with 1. And that first step is just getting them to record their homework somewhere. So for some students, yes, they'll write in a paper planner. Others will use an electronic device because they're techie and that works for them. Some kids will just snap a photo of the blackboard because that works better. Some kids take that information off of, the school's websites. But what the optimum solution is for them to be able to write it down. Because if your child cannot see what they have to do alongside when they have time to do it, they cannot manage their time. And there's no magic elixir here. If there was a magic elixir, I'd be in like the Bahamas buying an island. But there's not. But those 2 pieces have to be together. And that is really the definition of time management, being able to see it, to be able to manage it.
Awesome. Well, let's just do a real high view of the book and kind of break out how is it organized and what can people expect if they get this book?
So it takes a parent on a journey step by step. It's like having your best friend on your shoulder. So it takes you from the mindset that a parent needs to help their teen. And then it goes into like what I call my triple T's: tips, tools, and techniques. Everything from creating this homework profile and then plus major wonderful homework tips that are for everyone. How to beat procrastination, which is another huge issue, and all the tips there. I explain what FOMO is, which is the fear of missing out, and how to handle media distractions. We talk about getting out the door in the morning on time, how to schedule, how to plan, how to create future awareness, and how to help with the time sense.
Wow. And we're gonna have a link to this in our show notes too, because I know people are gonna want to get their hands on this. And in between writing this book and your book tour, which I'm sure you're on, you also do some professional organizing. Tell us a little bit about your company and how people can get a hold of you.
Okay, so the name of my company is Order Out of Chaos, and our website is orderoochaos.com. And we offer organizing, time management, and coaching services for students and their families, along with general organizing services as well, and products and information products that help students and families with these issues.
And your academic planner, of course, is something as we're getting ready for the school year here. Someone has got to get their hands on that as well.
It all kind of goes together between the planner and the book. It's a natural, kind of progression, you might say.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. We love having you on. We're going to have you back again because there's never enough time. But we also have to keep these kind of tight and full of tips too. So we'll have you back again, and I'm excited to try this out on a couple of my teenagers and see how it works.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Great.
I love coming.
Yep. Leslie Josell, Order Out of Chaos. That's orderoochaos.com. Now get those teens organized. Time management, it's all there in her book. Go out and get a copy of it. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And we'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized. Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized.
the reality is, do we want our kids on video games 3 hours out of the day? Probably not, because they need to have time to study. They need to have time to be interactive with other people, and not just by texting, but actually engaging with them. Certainly physical activity is incredibly important,